Well, good evening, all.
Evening.
Hi, Chris. Chris.
Yep.
Evening.
We've got Robert Chris and we've got Chris Vivian. Sorry, it's
all,
and it's
all you need now is a Chris Roberts.
right. Yeah, please no. My poor little brain can't cope. Well, uh, good evening, Mark. Is it Haubner? Is that how I say your name? I think you're
Yes,
pronouncing it
I've
right.
I've been introduced through the HPAC people and Herb Simmons. I just wanted to let you know that you can delete the Mark's Fathom note taker, which comes in because it wants to, but just don't report it to Zoom when you kick it out.
Oh, uh, um, I'm not too bothered to be honest, Mark. Unless it's a problem for you.
No, no,
Uh,
it's just you don't need to see it there.
Yeah, I mean, there's other note takers. Note takers are a kind of fact of life these days. We've got
More
Fleur's
note
note
takers
takers.
than participants.
Not luckily, it's not that bad so far. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
thanks.
yeah. Um, well, what we have a little tradition. Well, I've make this little tradition, Mark, of people who are new to us. Have to you have an initiation ceremony, which is very briefly. Would you please just very briefly give us a very brief background of yourself and what interests you? Yeah,
Yeah,
just the
sure.
background of yourself, really. Yeah.
Yeah, I write behavior change programs, social behavior change programs for small municipalities and nonprofits. And I've known Herb's work for quite a while through the Climate Action Plan, through his Montgomery County, Delaware projects, and so on. And I'm a volunteer for the Bio for Climate group.
Uh-huh. Great.
So there you
Okay.
go.
That's great. Thank you very much. That's great. That's perfect. Very excellent.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, welcome everyone. And this tends to fill up very much at this point. So we are going to, so this one's going to be uploaded publicly. And we produce our agenda at the very beginning. So please be thinking about what that might be while I put together uh, this file that's just going to say agenda pretty much. Um, so it's what you would like to talk about today, or you'd like us to talk about, or perhaps you can propose someone else. So that's what happens. Sometimes people get proposed by someone, but usually yourself. It doesn't matter. What do we want to talk about today, please? Greg Slater, please.
Yeah, thank you. I'm kind of interested in if there's any interest by the participants here in talking some about potential first test of SAI on the level of a ton or so. Um,
Sorry, on the
this
level
was
of a tunnel. Okay,
at the level of 1 ton in the
right.
stratosphere or more, but any first test. And this was somewhat prompted by at the there was an SAI workshop, and Doug Macmartin actually presented a series of tests, starting with something on that line and progressing from there. I thought this was kind of a break from. This was kind of a change. Represent as the first time I had heard any sort of mainstream scientist involved, sort of almost advocate for essentially an immediate test. He didn't go quite that far, but he laid out this series of tests starting and saw no reason to not proceed with the first test. Which so I don't know if there's any interest in that, or and also instead in just a discussion among the people what they think about a first test essentially immediately. This test could be done. I don't know, for $1 million. It could be done right now. So what do people here think? I know there's people who are advocates of a lot of different kinds of cooling methods. So anyway,
Right. So
it's
this is
all
a go on. So this is an item for the agenda then, and what you're saying is that how about a test has been proposed. We know that Doug Macmartin, he's a very good scientist, and he's an advocate of testing. An SAO, stratospheric aerosol injection, to lower temperatures. So what you're saying is, what do other people do? Does anyone have any comments on his proposed test of one? Is he proposing a 1 ton test?
Well, he's proposing a few ton, then like a few tons of ton, et
Yeah.
cetera, pending. But it's
Yeah.
yes, it's does this represent a sea change, the beginning of a sea change in the sort of fatwa against any tests of even picogram? And secondly, what people think about an immediate test, which I'm in favor of. I'm in favor of immediate tests of everything,
Right.
but in particular SAI at maybe a ton level or more. Anyway, that's sort of
Right.
the idea. Again, only if there's interest.
Well, I'm sure there will be, Greg. I just want to see what the item actually is. So you're asking for comments on a proposed testing of
Well,
SAI.
comments on Doug's overture and comments on people's opinions about going forward immediately with the first initial SAI test, which right now is under total ban. I mean, not a real ban, but pretend ban.
Yeah. I'll just put it like that, so we can keep it nice and short. Comments on Doug Martin's proposed
That's
SAI
fine.
tests. Yeah. Okay. All right. Got that. Thank you very much. And who else has got their hand up? Sev, please.
I was wondering how the group felt about talking about some cooling methods, in particular space mirrors. Do we not try and criticize or evaluate some methods, or are we allowed to do that in our group? Do we need to be totally neutral with all methods or not?
I don't think we feel the need. I don't think anyone here feels the need to be neutral about anything, Sev.
I think it's a legitimate topic, though, because I think there is sort of a sense that we shouldn't criticize, because if you criticize methods in internecine, then you sort of ruin the front for everyone. So I think it's worthwhile to discuss whether we are meant not to criticize different methods. The only thing that I'm concerned is that they not be ideological, but
Okay.
rational.
Right. I mean, I think everyone here, these meetings, everyone is allowed to have their own opinion. Um, but I think it's as a group, do we need to be careful about, HPAC, Healthy Planet Action Coalition, be careful about, as you say, Greg,
Yeah, it's sort of like the idea of friendly fire. Is it friendly fire?
disapproving of an
So,
interesting of someone
can I
else's idea.
suggest
Yep.
that when we're setting the agenda, we just set the agenda and not jump into discussion of the topic?
I agree. I very
All
much
right,
agree,
sorry, it
Robert.
was my fault.
I very much agree, Robert. I just want to see what it is. So is that what this is really, Sev? Whether it's a
Yes,
space mirrors or
exactly.
frankly anything.
In anything, it's
Yeah.
what is our philosophy on this?
Yeah. All right. Yeah. What's our okay? All right, I'll say that. Philosophy on does that make sense? Internecine ideas on yeah.
Seen
Is that
criticism.
right? On criticizing, yeah. This is a bit of a story. Criticizing internecine ideas. Right. That's fine. That's yeah. Okay. That's it. Got that then. Thank you. And Robert Chris, please.
Yeah, I just thought whether anybody was interested in me spending a few minutes just showing you this model that I've prepared and what it might.
Feedback on your. I have, unfortunately, sorry, I haven't had time to look at it closely, but I did see. So, is this a warming? Is this the Jim Hansen warming model, or something else?
No, it is the FAIR model, FAIR, that was used in AR6 that I have adapted to make it accessible to people who are not climate scientists and don't have a PhD in that. And I think it just answers an awful lot of questions about what we should be doing.
Right. What does it actually model?
It models emissions, CDR, and SRM in combination, the triad.
Emissions, CDR, okay, SRM.
And it will tell you up to 2300, and it tells you the emissions profile, it tells you the surface temperature response, it tells you the ppm, it tells you the radiative forcing and the sea level rise.
And right, all those things.
All those things in an instant.
Right. Right. Okay. Okay. Models. Oh, okay. Modeling. Right. Let's just say. So it gives 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 yeah. Okay. So temperature basically. Temperature. As you say, ppm, sea level rise, etc. Right. So we know what it is. Okay. All right.
Yeah, but yeah.
Okay. Okay, we'll find out if anyone's looked at it yet, but I'm sure I will want to definitely look at that. Okay, but I just haven't had time. Robert Tulip, please.
I'd like to talk about SRM governance.
Yep.
And
just that. We can leave it at that unless you want to find a little bit more.
Specifically, I'm interested in an albedo accord.
Okay. So I've seen, obviously that's been mentioned before, and I saw one or two emails going back and forth in the last few days on that. Okay, all right. Okay, this was looking quite potentially quite juicy already. Anything else for anyone? It doesn't have to be. Okay, let's leave it at that then. Let's leave it at that. Yeah. Okay, I think there's going to be plenty to talk about. Could be. Okay.
Just a comment, Clive. It's not really to discuss, but there was in the New Scientist last week, there was a large article about climate scientists' views of SRM, which said that a very large percentage, 60 or more percent, said that they believed SRM would happen before 2100, even though they weren't that in favour of it. So that they perceive that it will be necessary.
Right.
Which is just interesting that people, even who don't like it, think that the way we're going is inevitable, basically.
Was this across all disciplines or climate scientists?
This was specifically IPCC climate scientists.
Interesting.
Yeah. If you get a chance to look at a New Scientist, or obviously it's behind a paywall, but
yeah. It'd be nice if someone's able to put that out. Yeah, that'd be interesting to see what that is. Yeah. We don't like it, but we think it will happen. Okay, right. Yeah. Not quite sure how to answer that right now. Okay, thank you. That's very interesting anyway. That they've done that. Which is what we've been saying. I think we've been saying the same thing. We don't like it either, but it needs to happen as soon as possible. Unless we just want to, corals are nearly all gone already. Tropical corals, according to Tom.
I love it.
Yeah,
I think it's fantastic.
What's that, Robert?
I think it's the best thing that could possibly happen.
It's the best thing that could possibly happen.
It'll just transform our planet. It will be a major force for peace, for justice, for prosperity, for biodiversity, for abundance, for weather. For agricultural yields. There are so many benefits from SRM that it is just, we should have done it 50 years ago. It is so ridiculous that there is this psychological blockage. It is really bad.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Robert.
Yeah. Was this essay in particular or SRM?
No, right. No. This is a comment on what Chris Vivian has just said. About a article in the New Scientist.
Right. Was the question to these scientists on SAI in particular or any SRM, Chris?
Can't remember. I can try and look it up. Get back to you later, perhaps.
Okay, fine.
I mean, this is very interesting for us because we've been saying for so long, why are scientists saying no, keep letting it warm because hopefully we'll stop emitting carbon dioxide quite soon, and it just keeps getting more and more and more. Anyway, okay, thank you, Chris. All right, so we've got our agenda, and it begins with you, Greg. Please, you're requesting comments from others on Doug Macmartin's or anybody's proposed SAI tests. So is there anything you want to add to that? I think it's pretty clear actually what you're asking
Yeah,
for.
I mean, I was motivated by the fact that Doug Macmartin at this workshop is the closest that I've heard come by any scientist to immediate first test of SAI, and that there was no legitimate reason to refrain from it. That's rarely, if ever, been done yet by any scientist. So the question, I mean, so it was particularly what people may have to, anyone here may have to say about that proposal, and secondly, their own opinions on whatever on any test.
Okay, so any comments, anyone, please?
Yeah, I'd have a comment.
Yes, please, Robert. Yeah.
So Doug spoke at the HPAC conference on preventing 2 degrees, and he's very clear and measured and practical in his approach, and so I think he's really led the climate science community in assessing how to test SRM, and starting with small scale tests, and so together with Wake Smith, just developing proposals. So I think Doug's work has been really good. The paper of his that really caught my attention mostly was a few years ago, where he calculated that the SAI at about 20 million tons a year could by itself restore Holocene temperature in about 50 years. And so I think he has done calculations on that much more rigorously than anyone else. So Greg, I have the utmost respect for Doug's work.
Okay, thank you. So that's interesting. 50 years to restore pre-industrial temperatures. It seems a bit long for me. But anyway, that'll be one proposal. They know that they could do, and that's what you're saying, 20 million tons per year of presuming aerosol in the stratosphere. Okay, all right, thank you. So let's ask: is anyone? I think most people are not against testing. And if it's a 1-ton test, I don't think anyone. I'd be very surprised if anyone in this group. So but there might be. So is there anyone in this group? I don't see Franz here actually. Is Franz there today? Okay, Ron, please.
Hi, thank you, Clive. I just wanted to add to Greg's point that I just sent something out on this. That the other thing that is important is to let people know that if we want to do SAI quickly, we need to start the testing now. Like, we want to peak shave by 2050. We need to start working on it now in a practical way. In the engineering, as Mike says, Mike McCracken, work on the engineering, work on the optimization, and the other point is, of course, to build this up gradually, scale it up as we should do if we're going to do this responsibly. The only places you can really do that are the polar regions. So you need to start with the polar now, and then hopefully build trust and confidence. This is one scenario anyway, to roll it out for the global SAI. So it's a long process. So, we can't just wait and suddenly decide to flip the switch, as a lot of people seem to think. So that's just my comment.
Okay, thank you, Ron. Thank you. Any answers to that, or any other comments at all?
Yeah, well,
yeah, go ahead, Bru.
My comment would be, we need to be testing and studying everything. and that the only way we get security is by using every single tool in the box. Take a lesson from nature. The more diverse it is, the more stable it's going to become. And just going after one alone is a problem. I think we need to be campaigning for testing of all of the solutions, biological solutions, the physical ones, right across the board. Rather than get involved in this specific argument about it, we should be doing lots of little research systems.
Yeah.
Whether they're buoyant flakes or mirrors in space.
Yeah. Do a whole variety.
A whole variety, because that's how we will find out which solutions we should be using, which will balance out.
Yeah. Okay.
We've got to change the dialogue about it. We've actually got to get people clamoring for solutions. And maybe some of the shit that's going on in Jamaica and across the world will change the attitude in the next few days.
When you say shit that's going on in Jamaica, is this the coral reefs?
No. There's a hurricane category 5 hurricane about to hit Jamaica.
Wow.
And it is breaking records one after another at the moment. The deepest eye wall ever. The Hurricane Hunter planes had to turn around because there was too much turbulence for it. It's a low central pressure. It's recorded the highest gust ever recorded as well.
Okay.
So it's a disaster just, as we speak.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that, but I am now. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Bru. Who's next?
It's a huge news story.
Yeah, I mean, it's horrible. It's predictable, and it's horrible as well. Yeah, for wildlife as well as for people and that live there. Yeah, who's next? Is it John Macdonald? John Macdonald, please.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Maybe as a strategy, the best thing is to look at places where there's a really serious impending climate disaster looming or actually happening, and suggest climate cooling to mitigate that situation. And so a very local sort of approach to a disaster that's already happening. And there's an example here in Australia. In South Australia, there's been a massive algal bloom. It's caused incredible destruction to the fishing industry and the tourism industry, the whole thing. And it's warming water plus nutrients coming down rivers and things, but it's mainly warming water. So
whereabouts is that, John? Whereabouts in Australia?
South Australia, in St Vincent's Gulf off Adelaide in South Australia.
Right.
It's been absolutely devastating. The Australian government's thrown $100 million to help to prop up the fishing industry and tourism and so forth, but they haven't really addressed the issue. I've written to the South Australian Premier and suggested some ocean widening. We could do that even before MCB. But if there's a serious problem already happening and everyone's saying, hey, this is disastrous, then that may be the best strategy to say, well, let's try this in this location and just do a local test.
Right. So the issue is it's just getting too warm. The waters are just too warm, and they haven't addressed the warming.
I think that's largely it's a combination of that plus nutrients coming down the rivers, but I think it's mainly the warming of the waters. But no one's really addressing the solution. Just if we can find real disaster areas that are happening now, then I think that may be the best strategy.
I get your point. Yeah, so it may be more acceptable to do these tests if there's an immediate problem that's there to be fixed, that could be fixed quite quickly. Yeah. Okay, thanks, John. Greg, I'm going to move on to Herb because this is your question. Unless you wanted to say something.
I think Robert Chris was waiting first, and then Herb.
Oh, sorry, it's not that. I don't see Robert Chris on my. Okay, Robert Chris, please.
Hi. I just wanted to pick up on what Ron was saying before, and also what John was just saying now. I think that when we get this off the ground, I mean, we're starting from literally from square one. We're not even on the board really at this stage. The climate factors are not going to be the driving forces behind where the first tests are done. The decisions about where these first external experiments are done are going to be largely political, and they're going to be determined by whichever local governments are willing to have this happen on their territory. And that is going to be a more important factor than getting the climate details right up front. And then we'll have to work forward from there. But we've just got to get onto the first rung of this ladder in the simplest and least contentious possible way with willing parties, and then we can take it forward.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Politics. You think politics is what's going to enable the first test? Okay. Thanks, Robert. Thank you.
I think politics will enable the first test.
But
What I'm saying is that if we don't get the politics right, it will not happen. You know, so there's a slight. I'm turning it around. Getting the politics right doesn't enable the test.
all right.
Getting the politics right creates a context in which it may then happen.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. So who had their hand up just now? Someone else. It was Herb. Don't you want to speak, Herb?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. It's changed. Okay. Go on. Yes.
I agree with Bru and maybe with Robert, I'm not sure, but basically and this may be an idealized approach, but I think that technique should be agnostic, and what you really need is governments in a consortium, or maybe one, but that's less than ideal, to basically set a criteria for what they want to happen, and say we want to have cooling of X by Y year with minimum side effects, et cetera, and solicit proposals from the whole bloody world, including all of us, as to how it should be accomplished. And so, some may propose, Doug may propose SAI, and the folks in Israel, they claim they're more American than Israeli. The Stardust folks that we've talked about on the list may propose an alternative that may be SAI, but with a different technique. Somebody else may want to go in the troposphere. Somebody else may want to do ecosystem restoration. And I think that's the approach. The analogy is for better or worse, with the COVID vaccines. At least in terms of the U.S. government, they didn't say we want this kind of vaccine. They said we want a vaccine that's 50% effective. And so you got RNA vaccines and you got protein vaccines, whatever.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I think it's a whole different way to think about it than, we need, and again, that doesn't mean I'm against SAI or maybe that it's not the most logical candidate, but I think it's also that would be politically more acceptable and also make more sense.
Okay. I mean, it makes sense to me. It does strike me that if it's hard enough to get one thing done, because you'll find, the Sami or whoever will say, no, not in our backyard, that getting lots of things done, is much harder than just getting even one. It's not going to be easy to get. Well, maybe it would be easier to get lots of things done instead of just one thing. Maybe, but it's got to be done in someone's backyard somewhere, and unless you can find an area of kind of ocean that's no one lives there, but even there, you'd be in some kind of sensitive area or something. I don't know. Greg, please.
Yeah, thanks. Well, a couple of things in response to the comments. I appreciate everybody saying what they had in mind. I just want to stress that this was what I'm talking about is a first test, which would do no cooling, but which would allow investigation of the behavior of the dispersed aerosol, how it interacts with the atmosphere, how it clumps or not, et cetera. And the plume, the behavior of the plume and the hydrodynamics of the plume. These are things that physicists admit they don't have a full handle on. So a 1 ton test has absolutely no theoretical possibility of in the stratosphere where it circulates over the surface area of the planet, has no possibility of doing anything to anything, but it will give you scientific output. Furthermore, we've been under what I would call a fatwa by the Catholic Church, which is what I call the climate physics community, for 3 decades. And they currently have a de facto ban on a single molecule test of SAI in the stratosphere. Seriously, they have an entire ban, and also some have ban on research. This test would poke them in the eye, and I'm in favor of that. I'm not in favor of waiting for a one ton test, which can have no legitimate effect until everyone on the planet gives us the green light. It's just not going to hadn't happened in 3 decades. It will have to happen. Now, the second thing I'd say in response to Bru is that, as I said in this, I'm in favor of tests of everything. I'm just saying we should start the smallest minimum usable tests on everything. And because I'm an advocate of SAI, that's the one I'm pushing. But I don't have any. I'm not saying I'm in favor of everyone, and I think there should be as we approach serious cooling, the ones that are it'll be a competitive thing, or the ones that prove to be the most efficient. I mean, and I assume there'll be a spectrum of them once we seriously start cooling. We're not even to the point of considering this in a rational way yet, but I'm in favor of all these things, and I agree with Bru that we will have to be deploying everything to manage to cool the Earth by the amount we need. And what I'm talking about is not enforcing this on any particular part of the planet. I'm saying, I mean, it goes up. You do this in the stratosphere, so SAI in particular is unavoidably a global test, even at the 1 ton level. But it is at the 1 ton level, it's really not possible to do any damage. And there has been, the fact that it's banned even at the 1 ton level forever. It's an indication it's an irrational stance. So
what it indicates, Greg, is that the climate policy community believe that reforming the energy system is more important than addressing climate change, because the reality is that reforming the energy system does not do anything about climate change. But they've solved.
Robert, of course I understand. I mean, we've all been faced with that. I'm sorry.
And so the point is that I've used this language of fatwa as well, and we see that in the London Protocol decision on oceanine fertilization. And it's true that it's an emotional and mythological and religious argument that's preventing any small-scale testing, and it needs to be called out as that. I was hoping, Clive, to just show you to share Doug Macmartin's vision of.
Yeah. Are you done for now, Greg? Yeah.
Wrap up with a couple sentences. Go ahead. I guess Robert's going to share.
We'll let you finish. We'll come back to you at the end then, Greg. Yes.
I'll
please,
just quickly show this. And so this slide, I just need to fix that. And this was Doug's paper, Scenarios for Modeling Solar Radiation Modification, with a series of other leading scientists in the field, and showing that this blue line would essentially be able to restore Holocene conditions by 2070, starting in 2035. And this is the trajectory of the addition of sulfur to the atmosphere in millions of tons per year. So ramping up to 25 million tons per year by 2070 would essentially stabilize the climate. And I think that this is a key diagram in terms of potentials, and it's the only technology where this quantitative scenario has been developed. And starting with 1 ton in 2025 would be it would open the path towards achieving this.
Right. I mean, okay, thank you. That graph, just looking at that graph, in 2025, the temperature appeared to be a lot lower than 1.5 degrees on your graph just now.
Well, it was a 10-year-old old paper, but
right. Okay, fine. Yeah.
So no, there we are. 2025. You're right.
That looks like
typically it's 1.43 for the IPCC AR6.
Okay, right. Yeah. And I mean, with the temperature's been going, depending on how closely. I mean, the average temperature last year was more than 1.5, wasn't it? I thought about 1.6 or something.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So anyway, so that's 10 years old. Yes, fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And I mean, to me, that to wait to 2070, I mean, I think it can be a lot more powerful than that. Certainly, people I'm working with have done calculations on temperature for marine cloud brightening and got 10 years or less. Depending, it just depends on the size of the, how much aerosol you put in all right, in case of marine cloud brightening, in the right places.
Okay, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, but that's very recent, and so we've only just done it, and we've got to check it and everything. So, so that's just my comment. That they probably know they can do it a lot quicker than that. I mean, we know the effect of volcano. That's a huge, of course, obviously it's a huge amount of material. But anyway, that's not quite what we're talking about. We're talking about the does anyone object to any tests? So far, the answer, Greg, so far has been no. Nobody objects to absolutely no one in this group objects to testing of that or any other similar sort of any other cooling technology. And it's quite clearly, from our point of view, ideological. We don't see that testing is dangerous. Especially a small test. How can it possibly be dangerous? So it's the only reason is ideological. I mean, I find when I go around again, I'm teaching, I'm talking to different folks in nothing to do with climate change. It's property, real estate or something, and nobody brings up the subject of climate change. It's just not a talking point for anybody. They're not concerned. They're not even that. Just like George Marshall's book, don't even think about it. People don't even think about it. So to start thinking, oh, what about cooling the planet? What? And what about banning the tests? They're just a million miles away from even cooling, never mind about the tests. So this is a very, very small fringe, part of even Western society. We've got the education and we should, people should be concerned and thinking about it and discussing it, but they're not. They're just not. And so this is a very fringe area of, environmentalists. I mean, anyway, so that's enough. That's my comment. And well, I can't get my system back. Oh, here it is. Yeah. So okay. So who is next? Why can't I see my goddamn system?
I don't think anybody has their hand up right now.
Nobody has. So all right. So let's
just wrap up with this.
Yeah. Wrap up, then, please, Greg. Please. Yeah.
Just quickly. Since I'm advocating a first test of like a ton, and to my mind, I mean, I don't see why in any development program of scale, you start, you find, you correct, you change, you learn what you're doing wrong, you learn problems. It's an innovative cycle, which will either lead to ramp up of a given technique, whether it's SAR or whatever, or you'll come to a showstopper and you quit, but you got to go through that. And there's been a ban on, and there's no loop being closed with experiment, and science never works that way. You can't just model it even with the most powerful supercomputers and then come up with the answer. You have to test. So a small scale test of a ton. I defy anybody to find a reason other than psychological trauma that it caused, and this can be done for on the order of $1 million, some perhaps a little bigger, but not that much more. So I could mortgage everything I have and sell my firstborn child, and I could probably do the 1 ton test by myself with no help, including renting the plane in the lowest stratosphere. So this can be done on the open ocean. What I'm saying is, this is harmless except for psychological trauma to ideology, and it can be done by individuals even at the low end of the economic the net worth spectrum, and it can be done in international waters. It would have to be toward the poles probably, but you can get higher than 10K, 10 kilometers is sort of the bottom of the stratosphere near the poles, but it doesn't require global permission. It doesn't hurt anything, and the only thing you can imagine is that some nation will go crazy and launch a global thermonuclear war over one ton of SO2 when we're putting 50 megatons per year at low altitudes where it really kills people by the thousand every year.
So Greg, let me just ask Greg.
That's my final pitch.
Yeah,
Anyway.
let me ask, are you saying, because I think the question is anyone against doing tests?
I'm
so
saying,
what about anyone against doing a test without permission? Because,
I'm saying, is there anyone under the very constrained circumstances of this particular test, not 20, I mean, 20, you're heading for 20 megatons per year, perhaps, but I'm talking about on the order of a 1 ton test.
Yeah. We understand that. It's a small test.
Does anybody have any objection to doing that like tomorrow if I put up the money and and rent the plane?
Right. I think some people might say, because, there's the whole thing about the ocean iron fertilization, and one person went ahead and, we understand Russ George, and it caused a big ruckus, and then there was a big moratorium on doing ocean iron fertilization because he didn't get the proper permission.
That is the poster child of why we can't do anything until we get global. But I question whether the world really gave a damn about that. Nobody knows about that, including the current leaders. It was just he was the only guy willing to do it, and then the scientists said tisk tisk, but the political the leaders of governments were not up in arms over it. They didn't give a shit. So I mean, I think the whole characterization of the Rush George phenomenon is way overblown in terms of its effect on how anybody thought about testing, and it's just been exploited as a means of supporting a ban on everything and ban on any test. But I don't think it was a blip on anybody's radar screen when it happened, except maybe some newspapers. So I don't.
The Canadian government.
Pardon?
And the Canadian government. Well,
that's because he foolishly, I guess, did it within Canada's inner coast, but he could have done it in international waters, and they. But Canada didn't take any action in particularly, did they? Maybe
yes,
they
it did.
What did it do exactly?
They confiscated all his data.
Yeah, a SWAT raid on data and equipment.
Okay, but that was because it was within their power to do it. I mean, do it in international waters, and I doubt Canada will send jets. But I mean, the point is, we've had 3 decades, and we've gotten nowhere. And you have to do a test, and you're going to have to start that test and learn the stuff. And this test, putting a ton in the stratosphere where it's over the surface area is just not a dangerous thing to do.
I think we all agree that, Greg. We all agree that.
So okay. I'll cease there.
Great then. So thank you. Let's move on. I can't find Zoom just has changed, but anyway, let's not worry about that. I can't find my thing, but anyway, it's working. So I'm not sure I can see hands going up. So do tell me if I think it appears that I've missed that. Okay, Sev, please. What's our philosophy on criticizing other people's internecine ideas?
Okay. I have some strong feelings on the advisability of pursuing some SRM methods, especially those with direct military applications like space mirrors. This, in my opinion, would likely cause World War III and thereby prevent all other SRM methods from being tested. So, test everything? No, test most, but abjure some with strong military applications. What do people feel? What is our strategy?
Okay, thank you. Anyone?
Yeah.
Bru?
Sorry, I can't find the hand.
Yeah.
It's interesting. The Space Energy Initiative seems to be cracking on and is well supported. This is collecting energy from space by putting satellites up there, and that is likely to produce a profitable business. Therefore, it's getting support. It's interesting that technology then would start lending the way towards the space mirrors potentially for cooling. When I spoke to Roger Scheuer about this, who's the inventor of the M drive, And they've got those drives on some satellites now, so you've got a missionless thrust pushing them up into higher orbit. He's convinced that they can use EM drives to put mirrors up into space and put them a long way out, so you don't need a huge amount to have an impact on the Earth, and that you would be able to have pretty much complete control over solar radiation. You can switch it on and off as you turn the mirrors to and fro.
So we could cook Leningrad and Moscow and nothing else.
Well, there you go. This is the military element to it. But the Chinese and the Europeans, space engine, are going out to put stuff up into space to beam energy back down to Earth. And that looks like happening. And there's talk about the first test units being, well, the Chinese have got one up there, and the European one for 2030. And that's beams of energy going down. You can direct them where you like, potentially.
Right.
But
do you don't see it causing World War III then, Bru?
No, I don't think so. All of these things. I mean, World War III will be caused by idiots in the White House and megalomaniacs in Russia. You've got grumpy old men who are pissed off with everybody and close to the end of their life, and they can push the button. 76 minutes and it's all over.
Okay. Thank you, Bru. Thank you. Chris Vivian, please.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think the idea of the satellites beaming a microwave energy back to the Earth is probably a more potent military weapon than just putting the mirrors up that Sev's talked about. I think because they produce very focused, concentrated energy, which is much more damaging, I think, than the mirrors that would be up there for cooling purposes, if you could put them there.
It doesn't need to be mirrors. It can just be shades, I mean, you're just reflecting the sunlight away.
Stopping. Yeah, you can sort of reduce the harvest, for example, in an area by taking their sunlight away for the season, or sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, if you put them far enough out, you can just have a dimming effect over the whole planet.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks, Chris. Greg.
Well, I mean, I first heard about using mini shades, a huge sort of a swarm of mini shades out at Lagrangian point to shade the Earth generally, like 25 years ago. And I mean, I think the biggest protection against that is, I think it's still, even with the improvements in rocket efficiency under SpaceX et al., I think it's a long way off from they don't even have experiments or whatever. I haven't heard about the use of this M drive, which I assume uses the Earth's magnetic field. I'm not sure how high you can put those things with, using the M. That's what the
is that how it works? It thought it was EM. Was it electromagnetic?
Yeah, electromagnetic drive. Yes, it's basically the bouncing electrons around within a shaped container, so that more hit one end than the other, and the thing starts to move.
Okay, it's different than what I thought. Okay, well, I mean, that looks very nascent in its development. So, personally, as far as Sev Clarke's question, I think it's safe in terms of the likelihood of developing that. Even though, we all have now, all the big countries have space forces, that they're developing. So they're obviously interested in occupying space.
Right.
So I'm against it mainly. I mean, I'm sort of not even against that if it can be done. I just want the Earth cooled. That's the crisis. And I'm willing to forego a lot of things just to get the damn place cooled. Even though that's not the way I would go. Just in the larger issue that sort of adjacent to Sev's initial point was about, should we be allowed to criticize? I absolutely don't think there should be any sort of ban on criticism, but ideally it would be not, well, I mean,
it'd be scientific.
Even moral arguments are allowed, but they should be rooted in rationality and practicality. But I don't think that this forum should prevent or we should have a gentleman's agreement that nobody criticizes each other's proposed methods. For my part, if it turned out you could do OIF at the fastest, then I would immediately abandon my advocacy for SAI and I would be on the OIF position. But all of these things have to be tested, and from my perspective, SAI is both the most likely one to, because it's a global method and straightforward technologically, it's the one that I think can do the job first. That's just my opinion.
Can I point out in terms of criticism of all these things that it does nothing to reduce ocean acidification. It does nothing to stabilize the climate. It is absolutely essential that we bring back natural systems. And the only reason we're doing this is as a crutch to give us a bit of time to restore forests, restore oceans, redress ocean pH balance, etc. And it's really important that we state that, because if you say, hey, we're going to solve the problem, and we don't describe it properly, then it becomes quite dangerous. People have got to understand that it is literally just a plaster for a short space of time.
Well, that message has gotten across loud and clear over the last 30 years that SAI is, the devil's tool. And I don't think there's virtually, and I quite agree. It doesn't do anything about acidification, but that is not, the question, Bru, I would say is, are we in a crisis at all? If we're in a crisis, we act with the tools that we can act with, because we're in a crisis today. If we're not in a crisis, that changes my own calculation. But my sense is we're in a crisis. If we aren't, then let's take our time, get rid of all CO2 and do everything. And again, I'm in favor of initial significant tests of OIF and everything. I don't have any problem. I'm an advocate for those. It's just that everybody's placing their bets on what'll work, and from the perspective, the various perspectives of both the capacity for doing it and for the fact that you can turn it around, instantly.
Yeah. I mean, we understand your argument.
And again, Bru, I'm talking about the first test, and you can roll it. You can roll it back at any time. I mean, this is true with most of the technologies we're talking about. And if someone can demonstrate to me that we can do the restorative methods at scale, they can scale up rapidly, then I'm in favor of them. And they should be scaling even as we move forward. If we move forward with SAI gradually, everyone should be scaling up every other method as fast as they can. Sev stuff, everybody's stuff, and we'll see who can scale the fastest. But a 1 ton. We can do the initial tests on all these things, and I'm just making the case for the initial 1 ton test, for SAI. In terms of criticism, I welcome criticism of SAI, but again,
that's your previous question. So right now, Greg, we're saying, and that's, we understand that, and this is, what about criticizing other people's ideas?
Yeah, no, I'm happy with that. I would just say in response to Bru that the points of, I regard the question of well, I distinguish between what you do in a crisis and what you do if you have infinite time. And I mean, where infinite is on the time scale of how fast things are getting worse. That's the distinction I make in terms of evaluating any method. And in a crisis, you don't get everything you want in a crisis. You have to make sacrifices.
Right.
Anyway, I'll shut up.
That's all right, Greg. We don't. Here's what was going through my mind as you're speaking: is we're not in enough of a crisis, because there are no politicians have come forward and says, "Hey, we need to do this." Nobody wants to say anything. They say, "Oh, I'll still get voted in next year. Okay, the corals are all going to be extinct and things. But I don't really want to risk my career, so I'm not going to. And then nobody does anything. Nobody makes a decision.
Right.
So
I'm
it just
talking
keeps
about a
drifting
physical
on.
crisis.
And there's well, we've got a reason why. Oh no, look, there's a good reason. That doesn't solve ocean acidification. So and then I can find an environmentalist who says, no, don't stop beating that starving person to death, because they'll still. They'll still starve. If it doesn't do anything to make sure they don't starve, so you might as well keep on beating them to death. That's how I see it. Anyway, so Chris, please, Chris Vivian, and then I think we've got
I
John.
think John,
John, please. Yeah, John.
Jonathan was first.
Yeah, Jonathan. Okay. Yep.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I studied this issue about putting up reflectors, and I build reflectors too that track the sun. And there is no orbital position between the Earth and sun that would allow the shade or the focused reflection from an orbiting foil. Let's say it's 10 kilometers wide. There's no orbital mechanics which allow the shaded spot to maintain its location for more than a few minutes. The Earth rotates underneath it. And with a reflector, if you wanted, like this diagram I have in my area shows, to have a reflector that tries to hold its position and reflect its focused energy on a point, let's say a city, for more than just those few minutes as it passes over naturally, it would take an enormous amount of energy to move that 10-kilometer wide foil to track. And if you think about it, you're tracking it's from maybe 300,000 miles up. So you're tracking, and your accuracy at that stage is very difficult to maintain. I mean, think about the minute amount of error margin you'd have. So there's no real military application of these things beyond maybe making somebody see an irritating flash. There's no way to hold the shade or the focused position onto a point.
Okay. All right. So that sort of James Bond type thing where you sort of cook a city and blow up all their nuclear missiles, it isn't really feasible, is what you're saying, John.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
And then the larger the reflector, the harder it is. If you can think about how you would have to turn a 10-kilometer wide reflector.
Yeah, enormous. Yeah.
Back to point.
Yeah. Got it. Okay. All right. Thank you. That's interesting. Thanks, John.
You telling me we can't believe James Bond movies now?
What's that?
You telling me we can't believe James Bond movies now?
On this occasion, yeah. Yeah, that's fun to watch, though. Chris, Vivian, please. Chris.
Yeah, I was just going to come back to Sev's point about internecine issues. And I think we, at least, and I think we generally do, have constructive criticisms, perhaps. And we should not be, no personal attacks, constructive criticisms of the science and technology issues. And that's the way we should. And that is constructive criticism actually helps people to develop ideas rather than we simply can't swallow initial idea as it is and say that's fine, because there's always going to be tweaks and things that may be needed. So constructive criticisms is the way to go.
Great, absolutely. Yeah. And to me, this is how science works. So you can't stop scientists. You can't stop them speaking their mind anyway. Yeah, Robert Tulip, please.
Well, surprising that the planetary sunshade concept was not included in the Oxford Open Climate Science paper on planetary cooling methods. I've maintained an interest in the planetary sunshade concept, and I've have a discussion thread on an astronomy discussion board that I've included in the chat, which I hope is accessible to people. And there's a quite significant lobby in favour of placing space mirrors at the Lagrange 1 point in between the Earth and the Sun as a theoretically practical cooling method, but the general problem is cost, and the sense that it would be far more expensive than any of the terrestrial albedo reflection technologies.
Yep. Okay. Okay.
And sorry, I won't be able to stay for the subsequent agenda items. I have to go, so I'll
Okay.
So,
Thanks for joining us for this time, Robert, and see you again soon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank
Good
you.
health. Yeah. Thank you. John Macdonald, please.
Look, I think we really need a crisis to get politicians to take notice. And that example I gave you in South Australia has really got their attention here. They really are engaged in the exercise. They don't have the tools. They're not aware of solutions, but they certainly are engaged. The public outcry has been enormous. So that's the clue. They're listening, and maybe that's an opportunity to intervene. I guess it takes a crisis to bring it to a head from to really get their head around these things. Just the thought. Yep.
Yeah, great. Okay, thank you, John. Okay, we've got half an hour. Let's get on to the next item. Who's next? Yeah, Robert Chris. Feedback on your FAIR model using AR6 that gives temperature, ppm, all kinds of useful outputs.
Yeah.
Robert, please. Robert, please.
I'm not looking for feedback because, as far as I'm aware, nobody's even looked at it. I haven't had a single.
Has anyone looked at it? Has anyone looked at it so far?
I've looked at it, but only briefly. I haven't gone through the meeting which explains the method yet. So I do look forward to having a look at it, Robert.
Okay, fine. But the reason before I show it to you, I just want to make a couple of comments. First of all, the model is not my model. This model is produced by a bunch of climate scientists. It was first released in 2017. It was used in AR6. It's subsequently been enhanced a little bit by various other scientists. There's lots of literature on it. Now, the reason I picked it up is because it does have that credibility of coming from an academic source, and it's been used in a very formal way in AR6. And they have released an Excel version of this thing, which I have picked up, and I have adapted to make it more accessible. Now, to understand that, this model, although it's in Excel, and therefore you would think might be very simple, it covers something like 80 different forcing agents. It covers the period up to 2300, and you need to input data for every year for every forcing agent. It's, you need to understand what you're doing, and it makes it, although it's an Excel model, it makes it very difficult for lay people to pick it up and use it. So my intention here was to simplify the front end so that people could input things that made sense.
Are you going to give us a quick demo?
I'm going to give you a quick demo, but I want to explain it first.
Yeah.
If you want to do the presentation, I'll let you do it. If you let me do the presentation, I'll do the presentation. And so the idea was to simplify the input and the output, so that the messages were very clear. So that's what I'm going to show you now is just one example of the model. I've got to share my screen, haven't I? I've got to do that.
Yep.
Where have they put it?
The green button at the bottom.
Oh, share, right. Okay.
In the middle.
Yeah, in the middle.
Right. So screen. Share. Right. Hopefully you'll be able to see this very shortly.
It's coming up. It's coming up. It says you've started screen sharing. There it is. We got it.
There we go.
Okay, so there are 30. Just to say, there are 35 tabs in this worksheet. It's about 12, 13 megabytes. The user really only needs to look at one of them, which is this one here. So what you've got up in the top left-hand corner is the input. That's all the input you need from now until 2300. And then you've got these 5 graphs. So
what does WTF stand for?
It stands for World Temperature Forecaster.
Forecast, thank you.
What the fuck?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I was thinking WTF stands for something else. But
Yeah. That's why I asked. Yeah.
I'll let you play with that.
Okay.
So you've got these 5 graphs. The first one is the emissions and the CDR. So the orange line is the CDR, the yellow line is the emissions, and the dotted brown line is the net position, the net emissions. Then you've got the surface temperature, which is pretty explanatory. You've got sea level rise here in millimeters. You've got the effective rate, the ERF. The green section is SRM. The blue section is carbon dioxide. The pink section is all other non-CO2 greenhouse gases. And the black line is the net forcing. And down here on the right-hand side, you've got the concentration of carbon dioxide in ppm, and the dotted line is a threshold that the user can set. In this particular example, it's set at 1.5 degrees, which you can also see up here on the temperature thing. Okay? So cool beneath, warmer above. So this one you're looking at, just to start you off to understand what you're doing. This is an emission scenario where CO2 emissions peak at 45 gigatons in 2030. They then decline to 10 gigatons a year by 2120. And then by 2300, they stabilize at 10. And that's the yellow line. So you can see the yellow line, there it goes, and it gradually settles at 10. There is also CDR going on. It starts in 2026, it's right here, and it climbs to 5 gigatons of carbon dioxide a year by 2050. And then it goes again, it doubles over the next 200 years to there. Yeah?
Right.
And that's where it stops. And there's also SRM in here. So the SRM is this green line down here in the forcing, and it starts off in 2030. And I've assumed that by 2080, we get to 2.75 watts per meter. We don't start there, obviously start at 0. And all of these transitions grow through these nice logistics S-curves that some of you will be familiar with.
Right. So you could change those numbers and the graphs would change, would they?
You'll see that in a second.
Okay.
So then this changes down to 2.5. And what you get here in this particular scenario, which I've designed here, is this is getting surface temperature down to 1 degree centigrade of warming by 2100 and stabilizing there. So if we did this, that's what you'd get. And the red area here is the accumulated temperature. You can look upon it as the accumulated temperature suppression that the solar radiation management is doing. Fine. So now you say, okay, fine. Well, can we change this? Now, to save me time, I've just got some scenario. Well, I'll do it here. Let's suppose you said, oh well, we've got that, but we're not going to be able to do. We're not going to be able to do this, the SRM because it's all too difficult, and the politicians won't let us do it. So we put zeros in here, and you'll see what happens. Hopefully. So now you can see the temperature's changed. Now, instead of being 1 degree, it's gone up to 2 degrees by 2050. By 2100, it's gone to 2.5, and so on. And it stabilizes around 3.
Right. So this is not Jim Hanson's model of going up to 10 degrees, but by about 2400.
He didn't say it was going to go up to 10 degrees in this time span.
That
was an equilibrium temperature change. It's going to take thousands of years. So this is the sea level rise. So by 2300, we've got well over 1 meter of sea level rise. Now, I'm not going to play with this now, but the point here is that you can change it. So if you wanted to have, if you said, well, let's look at a really, really, actually, I've got to try and get rid of this. How do I get rid of that? No, right, that's gone. If I've just prepared some others earlier, and well, actually, let me just do this. So let's suppose we said, okay, we're going to be really aggressive, and we're going to get down to 0. We're going to get to 5 gigatons by 2060. And we're going to stay there at 5 gigatons.
That's emissions then, is it?
That's emissions, right?
Yeah.
And you can see that that's what happens. And this is with no SRM. So now we're already at that, with that limited amount of CDR, 5 gigatons, 10 gigatons, we're already well below 2 degrees and headed south.
Yeah.
So you can use this to get a really clear picture of what any emissions and SRM scenario is going to look like. So rather than just use the rhetoric, which is what we all do because the numbers are so difficult. Well, it could be warming and it could be cooling, but we don't know by how much, by when. this model allows you to actually look at the numbers and say with some degree of confidence exactly what's going to happen. And I mean, I'm not going to take up loads of time, but in here I've got a Karob thing, and these graphs here are comparisons of the model as I have it with the original native FAIR model. So this curve here is the emissions in both cases, which are identical because I fixed them to be so. And this line here are the two temperature changes. And you can see that they're basically the same in almost every case. So what I have done to the model to simplify it has hardly made any difference to the outcome, certainly no practical policy difference. And what I'm hoping that people will do is to, because it is so accessible, it's so quick, is that they will use this to think about how to convey to other people exactly what a dire situation we're in. Because now I'm going to show you something else. 45 degrees by 2030. Let's suppose that it stays at 40 until 2150. Okay, and then it gradually subsides down to 10 by 2300. And let's suppose there's no CDR and there's no SRM. That's what we're looking at. 5 degrees, it's up almost to 6 degrees.
Mm-hmm. By 2300.
Yeah, so this is the scenario of no abatement, no mitigation, no reduction in emissions. We just carry on, business as usual. And we don't get our act together on CDR because it's too complicated. We don't do any SRM because it's politically too sensitive. Well, we're not going to get to 6 degrees because things are going to fall apart long before then.
Yeah.
But you can see that you can very quickly convey the picture of how serious the situation is.
Okay.
That's all I wanted to do for now.
Great. Thank you, Robert.
Yeah, I mean, before I take it off.
Yeah, good. You can leave it there. So people might have some questions on it. I've kind of got a few, but let's take other. John, please. John Cole.
Oh, yeah. Can you go back to that prior screen and without changing the emissions from today's numbers and without adding any effective drawdown of carbon, could you change only the SRM number in such a way that the temperature immediately starts to drop and goes down to something like 1 degree above pre-industrial by 20 years from now?
So you want me to get rid of the CDR?
No, leave its effect alone and change only the SRM effect.
So this is what I started with. So we have 1 degree right way along. So what do you want to do with the SRM? Do you want me to get rid of that?
Yeah, how large of an effect in the SRM column would you have to make to immediately reverse the increase in temperature and bring it back to 1 degree Celsius above pre-industrial within a short time frame, like 20 years?
Oh, well, okay. So actually, I've got to say, I'm not quite sure what you're asking me to do here.
I don't think we're going to reduce our emissions at all, ever. And I'm not sure we're going to be able to do any CDR. So leaving those alone, the only thing we have is SRM in my mind. So what are the radical watts per meter squared that we have to get to with using SRM alone?
Oh, okay. Right, let's try that. So we get rid of the CDR. Okay, and I put the emissions back up high, so they stay here 40, and after 2120 they go down to 10 over a long period of time. Okay, because obviously there's going to be peak oil at some stage, and we get this kind of profile. So now, in order to get this down, what we would do is we would jump that up to 3 watts per square meter, maybe put it 3.5 there. And actually, 21, 20, and make it at 4 watts there. So it's coming down. I mean, I'll give you 5 minutes, and I could call that 5, and we can get it down. So you can see this is the way you can work out very quickly here. I've almost got it all below 2 degrees. If I make that up to 3.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, the whole idea, John, is that you have a go yourself and play around with the numbers and get it to do it yourself, I think.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I downloaded it.
and you'll get the results immediately.
Yeah. So this is just Excel and it runs on a PC on Windows.
I think you have to have Excel 365 to run this because it's got some very sophisticated coding in it. There's no VBA. It's just
It
using.
did launch that when I tried to work with it. It launched Office 365. Yeah.
Yeah. And so there are some really interesting details in here. I mean, I've fixed these charts so that the scales don't change. But one of the things to watch out here, particularly with SRM, in this concentrations graph, you get a real sense of the potential for termination shock.
Mm-hmm.
The more you've got here, it means that all of the work is being done by the SRM and nothing is being done by reducing emissions. So you've got vast amounts. Look, we've got 900 ppm here. So all of that warming, potential warming, is being reversed by the SRM. That is a very dangerous climate situation to be in.
Mm.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Being masked by it, basically, what you're saying.
Yeah.
So as soon as you stop doing the SRM, suddenly the place heats up very quickly. That's something about termination shock.
That's one of the reasons why this really gets across really clearly the argument that says that you absolutely should not use SRM as a reason not to decarbonize. The two have to be done in parallel.
Yeah. Right.
Otherwise, you're creating as much of a problem as you're solving.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I think I'd say that we look at this and we know, the effect. We know how disastrous 6 degrees is. I don't know how many. Perhaps you could say that a lot of people, they just don't want to think about it. Anyway, okay. Thank you, Robert. That's really
if anybody wants
great.
to play with it now, you've had a quick introduction. Please do, and I'd be grateful for any feedback. I mean, what I would like to see happen with it is that people use it, and actually that it would go into schools and into offices, and that people who are interested in climate change and are interested in the numbers could use this as a basis for fashioning questions for their parliamentarians, their local councillors, and other policymakers. Look, these are the numbers, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, great. Greg, we're still waiting for you to make some video shorts. You could pick that bit out and make a video short on that. And more that might get more public viewings. Yeah.
Got it. Can I go ahead and comment?
Yeah, please. Yep.
So this is just a nitpicky thing, Robert, but I would put, in addition to putting the forcing value on SRM, I would put tons of, assuming an SO2, that's the one that most likely, per year, because that's the practical side, and that's the thing that is really controversial. If you're putting 20 million tons a year, people, you might get some kvetching back, and so that would be useful. Just a small thing.
Let me just say, Greg, I'm deliberately not doing that because the model is completely and utterly agnostic about technologies. So I'm not using this to illustrate SAI. It's SRM. It's about the forcing. So it is an entirely separate question about how you deliver the emissions reductions, how you deliver the CDR, how you deliver the SRM.
I get that.
There are so many contentious questions about the actual engineering and deployments of each of these that to put them into the model, I think, is just it undermines its basic message.
Well, the only I get it, but the only response I get is some of the SRM are natural restorative OAF. Then if those things are put in place, as Bru was arguing, those things you're not causing termination shock and shit like that. I mean, it's SAI that people worry about, the termination shock, and it's not the ones that are natural and restorative and are really augmenting or recovering from loss of albedo or increased loss of albedo from by natural means. So I think that if you're lumping them all together, the red zone up there is not really red if it's due to the good the good restorative techniques. That's all I'm saying. The only other thing I would wonder, I would like comment is that, as you know, Bruce Parker, who I think is here, has his own tool for predicting, and I'm just curious the extent to which the purposes and the scope of your two models overlap or not. And Bruce could comment if he wants. I believe he's there. I don't know if he wants to comment, but I'm very interested in both your models. And finally, can you once again, I'm saying, put a link to your page. Am I taking it that you download this this Excel?
In the email I sent around, there was a link.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'll go search on the email, but maybe you put it in there again in the chat again. But
can we give it a try? Because this is be very useful, actually. If I give this a try now, if I go find your email, Robert, let's just see if we can get this to work for so that demo, so make it accessible.
You can't run it in the cloud. You have to download.
I think I put on the links in the chat.
Oh, the links in the chat. Here we go then.
And then you have to download each file individually to your own machine.
Well, there's only two files.
This one here, WTF.
Yeah.
World temperature forecast.
Yeah, well named.
Yeah. Right, so here they are. So there's the Excel and there's this other thing. That's just a PDF.
Right click each one individually.
There's a couple of pages just to illustrate some stuff, and it probably makes sense to read it first.
Right. Well, but is this the only thing that's actually essential? This XLSX?
Yeah, click on that.
Let's just do it the simplest possible way.
4.8 megabytes. So, okay.
Oh, right.
No, what you do is you right click it and then download it to your local machine.
Oh, so okay. So what have gone wrong with it here?
Yeah, that's opening it in the cloud.
So this is no good then?
Yeah, it's just shut it down and go back.
All right. Shut that down and go back. Back to this. Where was it? Down the bottom. So what do I need to right click here? Do I right click? Is that right? Copy link? Or what did I do wrong here? Can you tell me? Someone tell me.
We're not seeing your page.
We're not seeing the screen.
Oh, sorry, I'm not showing my screen. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Yeah, I've just got this. You can't see me on the chat. That's right. So I've got a chat window up here. I'm just clicking on the chat. And I clicked on WTF OneDrive, this is the link that you've just sent out, John. So I don't think I can share the chat window.
But you can share your screen using that browser window.
Well, I have shared my screen, so you can, and you began to see it just now, didn't you, when it came up in
Yeah, we saw it earlier, but we just got a Google screen at the minute.
Yeah, I know. That's because I closed it down. I closed that link. And so I'm going to
open it up again.
Right, well, I'll just click on WTF OneDrive link again.
Yeah.
And that's literally, okay. And now can you see it?
We've got right click on it.
Ah, there's what we've got right click. Okay.
Download.
Download. Where are we? I can't see. Oh, there.
Halfway down. There you go.
All right, there we go. Download. Yeah. It's doing a download.
Then go to your download folder and launch it.
So down here, it should be there somewhere.
Yeah. Just click on it now. There you go.
There. Go into the folder. There we are. It brings up the folder. And then this here. So I'll just bring it up there then. Okay. So open it up there. Okay. So it's going to run on my PC. And so Microsoft 365. Okay.
So you need Microsoft 365, is that right?
Yeah.
Looks like he's got it.
Yeah.
And then you've got to click on enable editing at the top.
Yeah, and this thing was right in the way, so I have to see if I can do that.
One thing that's really nice about this is you can change the milestone year values as well.
Yeah, you can change the milestone. Yeah. It's not on the screen now. It's actually it's further down.
It is? More?
You can go into B39, I think, where it says threshold. It's row 49.
This one here? Overshoot threshold.
Yeah, so if you want to make it 1.5 degrees, make it 1.55. Always add on an extra 0.05 because of the rounding. Because
just out of curiosity, what if you put 0 for the overshoot desired?
It would be fine. It wouldn't be a problem.
Just not accurate anymore. Is that what you're saying?
No, it would just set all that overshoot does is it sets the position of the line on the graph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this looks pretty simple. So, and you've a lot of these cells you've made them, you've sort of protected them, so you can't change it, you can't mess it up.
I have protected them all, but there's no passwords. So
Right.
if you want to go and play, you just all you have to do is to go in and remove the protection.
Right. Well, the only playing I want to do is change some of these numbers and see how those graphs change. I don't want to mess about with the code.
Don't need to just go ahead.
Right. So we just change these straight away.
Yeah.
Right. So this is gigatons of CO2 emissions, gigatons of CO2 removed, and this is Watts per meter squared of SRM then, basically.
Yeah.
And that's all it is.
Yeah.
That's the only thing to change. Or you can change the years as well.
Yeah.
A bit odd that they're in the same column, but anyway, that's okay.
Remember, when, for example, in the first column where it says 45 and 2030, it means that it's going to increase from its current level over that period, over the next 5 years, and it will reach 40 in 2030.
40, not 45.
45, sorry. 45.
Yeah, whatever it says. Yeah, okay.
2030.
Right,
and
yeah.
That's why you get all these nice curves. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And so my question is how closely does this how close is this to Jim Hanson's model?
I haven't looked at his model.
I thought you had. I thought that was what you were talking about a couple of months ago.
I haven't used this. I only really got this completed in the last few days. What I have done is I have checked it against against four or five SRM SSP scenarios.
Right.
Just to make sure that the outcome.
Okay. Well, I understand that you've made, so this is a sort of simplified version. You've just made sure it's in the right ballpark kind of thing. And you're saying
the differences are like a tenth, 0.1.
Yeah, and it's very close, is what you're saying. So this is very close to that model. But I'm sure it was you, I'm certain it was you, Robert, that was looking at the global warming in the pipeline paper from Jim Hanson, and he had, it was the sort of the fast equilibrium, and then so what's it called again? Equilibrium climate sensitivity, and then there was system climate sensitivity, wasn't it? That
okay, fine. This is very complicated, but basically, the ECS, the equilibrium climate sensitivity, which is generally regarded as being the main metric.
Yeah,
it's the temperature, the surface temperature change on a doubling of CO2 that comes out at equilibrium. So that means after the temperature has fully emerged over a very long period of time.
Yeah,
that is generally the IPCC and the kind of orthodox position is it's around 3. But Hanson is of the view that it's like 4.5, maybe even 4.8.
Yeah.
And in this model, and I've disabled it at the moment because I want to do some more testing on it, we have the flexibility of playing with that number to see what impact it makes.
Right.
And I have done that. And my impression is that if you increase the equilibrium climate sensitivity to 4.5 degrees, it makes the situation worse, but not so much worse that it changes an okay situation into a disaster. It just makes a bad situation more bad.
Right. So is this one what we're looking at here? Is this based on a sort of a 3 degrees?
Yeah, this is based upon the fair default values that were used, that's been used by the IPCC.
Yeah. Okay. Right. And the thing is, Jim Hanson was saying, and I'm sure he was saying this about the system, the slow feedbacks.
Yeah.
So because equilibrium climate sensitivity is the fast feedback, so it doesn't take long to get most of the way there, because it's water vapor and things like that, and clouds. So it's pretty quick, to respond. Whereas the slow systems sensitivity is other things like soils releasing CO2 and permafrost releasing methane, things that take much longer to play out. That has been saying in his paper, Jim Hanson, that you get a 10 degrees. It's there's 10 degrees centigrade in the pipeline from these very slow feedbacks going over hundreds of years.
Exactly over hundreds of years. It doesn't emerge. We're concerned here about the next 100 years, 200 years.
Right, but
the 10 degrees is not going to have a big impact on that.
But 10 degrees, I thought most of that 10 degrees was by around about 2400 or 20, in the next 400 years from now. That most of that 10 degrees, the majority of that 10 degrees would have already played out within about 400 years. So, a lot of it would be there by 2300. So what's that?
Clive, you still got some hands up.
Oh, thank you. Okay, thank you. This Zoom has changed. I wish they. Anyway, so who's next then, please? I can't see who's next. Herb, please. Herb. Thank you.
Yeah. First, thanks as always, Robert. Great job. Just a quick kind of half snarky comment when you mentioned 6 degrees with no SRM and no removals. And of course, immediately when I hear 6 degrees, I think of the distinguished economist William Nordhaus, who won a Nobel Prize for having a model that says at 6 degrees, economic growth will decline by about 0.1% per year or so. So, I don't know what level of delusion you're involved in, Robert, if you think 6 degrees is going to have any material effect on the rest of us. And I'll stop there.
Well, I think all I'm doing here is presenting the numbers. And when I presented the numbers on that chart, I did say, don't worry about the 6 degrees because we won't get there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, Nordhaus says we'll get there quite well there, but maybe we'll be able to only go out to dinner twice a week instead of 3 times or something.
Yeah.
Just in response to Herb's comment from the economists, I mean, there have been predictions like this before that if you project the GDP of the world into the future, you'll see that the GDP is, infinitely compensates for any losses, but it doesn't. I don't think these predictions reflect or estimate. They're extrapolating the current GDP growth rate as if the climate situation didn't have any effect on how fast world GDP is going up. It's just absurd.
Well, that was my point. I mean, it's just beyond not only absurd, but then getting a Nobel Prize for it. I mean,
yeah, right.
There's so many things we can all point to, sort of demonstrating the Alice in Wonderland world we live in, where what's up is down and what's down is up. But to me, there's nothing more compelling than that one particular factoid.
Yeah. Okay, I get it.
What I want to say that one of the reasons why I think this model is so helpful and so important is because it is an absolutely economics-free zone. and it is, again, I'm not going to go into detail, but within this model, there is a lot of very clever climate science and very clever formulae, which have been around for some time. Most of the mathematics in this model was used in AR5. So this is not novel stuff. They've just kind of tweaked it and made it and improved it.
Right.
Primarily because there were big problems previously with establishing what happens to the airborne fraction as concentrations change.
Right.
But the whole point here is to provide people with the numbers. So it says 6 degrees. You make the decision about what 6 degrees means.
Yeah. Well, you can read. I mean, one of the first books I read on climate change was called 6 Degrees. That's the title of the book by Mark Linus, 6 Degrees.
Yes.
And in 6 degrees, it's all over, basically. That's the end. It's pretty much the end at 5 degrees. Never mind 6 degrees. And so that would be the only change I'd want to make to it, Robert. I agree. Keep it free of economics, but just have a little thing that pops up and says, the Amazon is gone, or I don't know, something like that, or the glacier, all the mountain glaciers are completely gone, and everyone's dying of thirst everywhere, something like that. But it's fantastic, Robert. That's very good. I think. Thank you you put obviously a lot of effort. It's going to be very useful for us to play around with that. Very good. We've had our time, gentlemen, once again. See you again. Thank you for all your contributions. You'll see this, and this is a public upload. And see you again in 2 weeks, if not before.
Can I just draw everybody's attention to the National Emergency Briefing on Climate and Nature on the 27th of November? The link's in the chat.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think you'll be interested. They've got quite a stellar lineup. Robert, you might want to send them your model.
Go for it, Robert.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bru.
See you all.
Again soon. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers.